Today I'm bringing you another challenge build, and this one comes from one of our amazing viewers, Samuel B. The challenge is to build a familiar focused build. My familiar must be essential to my combat strategy. Let's do this. So let's start with my initial thoughts when given this challenge. Of course, my first thought is, this has got to do something with Pact of the Chain. Pact of the Chain has the best familiars, and then my next follow-up was, what spells synergize with a familiar? And as I began to list those spells, I realized something. Most of them weren't on the Warlock spell list. So the idea that I came up with pretty early was that we're going to take 3 levels of Warlock, because we get everything we need from Warlock in those 3 levels, and then from there we can multi-class out, go find some other options. Really quickly though, I realized that by being Pact of the Chain, and the invocations we're going to take, we really needed to pump our charisma. And so I didn't want to multi-class outside of charisma. I wanted to keep really charisma focused. But not only that, because of the nature of this build where we're letting our familiar do most of the work, we kind of naturally fall into a support role. So I wanted more support spells than what the charisma casters were offering me. And so the clear answer of what to do next came when I decided I want cleric spells, but I don't want to be a cleric. Where that led me pretty quickly was to the Divine Soul Sorcerer. So now we have Warlock of some nature, 3 levels, Divine Soul Sorcerer X. From there, I thought, which familiar would be best for combat? And I sat down with all of the Pact of the Chain familiars and just kind of thought through the pros and cons of each. And what I came to was the Sprite. The main reason is that the Sprite has a ranged attack, a really great ranged attack. And because it has that ranged attack, it has the ability to really stay out of danger. Now, on our turn, we're using our action and bonus action to make it attack, but on its turn, it has a free action. Now, it can't use that action to attack. It can use it to dodge, disengage, or provide the help action, which is normally what we do, but it also has invisibility. Protecting our familiar is going to be paramount to our build because we need to make sure that if it's central to our combat strategy, that it doesn't die. And it being able to go invisible as well as having a long ranged attack really came together to make me decide the Sprite was perfect. Now, because we're using a Sprite and it's central to our build, it made me feel like, okay, it would be awesome if we were a fairy. Not only does fairies spells synergize with a familiar, but it also is perfect for the flavor, and being able to fly is fantastic on top of that. So I really liked fairy for this build, which left our subclass for our warlock, which thematically archfey. But when I got into the nuts and bolts of the build, archfey really didn't do much for us at all. We already got one of its spells. We're often going to be invisible, so its ability to frighten someone or to charm someone doesn't work that well when they can't see us. So when it came down to the nuts and bolts, it was clear that Celestial was just the better choice. So that's kind of the broad overview, but let's get down to the specifics. Level 1, we're going to go Warlock. This is going to give us wisdom saves, which are fantastic, but because we are a Celestial Warlock, we're also going to get Guiding Bolt. And Guiding Bolt is going to be our favorite first level spell. We're not doing the same Eldritch Blast, spamming, hex things that normal Warlocks do, so having Guiding Bolt just for that burst of damage and advantage is awesome on our spell list, because I really don't see us doing anything else with it. Next up, we have our cantrips, and cantrips are really important for this build. Mind Sliver really stands out as powerful. It's going to be more powerful later, but Mind Sliver is really hard to resist, and then it makes it harder to resist the next thing as well. We love Mind Sliver on this build. We're going to take it. I also went with Chill Touch. Chill Touch is a great alternative to Eldritch Blast or Firebolt. It has the same amount of range, does a decent amount of damage at a D8, 1 point of damage on average less, but it comes with some interesting debuffs. It makes it so our enemies can't heal, which can be massive, and it makes it so undead have disadvantage on their next attack, and undead are super common. So I actually really like Chill Touch, and I don't think it's taken often enough, so I'm going to take it here. At level 2, we're going to get our invocations. Now, we're going to want a level 3 invocation, so one of the ones we take is not going to last. It's going to be given up for a level 3 invocation. So that leaves us one other invocation we can choose. Now, we don't have Dark Vision, so Devil Sight really stands out as powerful here, but then there's Eldritch Mind. Eldritch Mind, we are a concentration caster. It just protects our concentration so well, and we're going to have different ways of handling Dark Vision later, so I'm going to go with Eldritch Mind, though it's a hard choice. Then the big level. Everything comes together at level 3. At level 3, we get Pact of the Chain. Pact of the Chain is going to allow us to pick up our Sprite, and not only that, it's going to allow us to use one of our attack actions to let it attack using its reaction. At this level, we're also going to give up our second invocation for Investment of the Chainmaster. Investment of the Chainmaster is huge for this build. This is going to allow us to use our bonus action to let our Sprite make another attack. No reaction required, so now we can attack, let our Sprite attack, bonus action, let our Sprite attack. So we're getting 2 attacks at level 3 with our Sprite. Additionally, it lets our Sprite's DC use our DC, which is massive. Sprite's DC is usually like 10. And the reason this matters is that it's going to take it from that 10 to a much higher number. And the Sprite is not about dealing damage. It does like 1 damage a hit. In fact, it does 1 damage a hit. But what it's going to do after it gets that hit is make them make a save. If they fail that save, they're poisoned for a minute. In other words, the whole combat. For marshals, that is a terrible disadvantage. We are absolutely nerfing the crap out of them. Additionally, it makes them easier to grapple. And on top of that, if they happen to roll 5 or lower, they're just unconscious. We just knocked them out. It's crazy, and it's going to last for a whole minute that they're completely unconscious. That can set up a critical hit, or you can just walk away and leave their body there to wake up later. We also have combos to pull off with this. We can use Mind Sliver as our action, and then bonus action have our Sprite attack, now with them getting a reduction to their saves. It's important to note that after we get our 2 attacks in on our Sprite's turn, they're going to go invisible. Also, at level 3, we're getting 2nd level spells, and one really stands out here to me, and that's invisibility. Because we can largely do what we do without attacking or casting a spell, invisibility almost becomes greater invisibility to us. We can use our features, and we can still command our Sprite to attack all the time, so we can still do emergency heals using our Celestial Warlock feature at the same time of staying completely invisible and debuffing the enemies. So we really are found our niche here. We are a support. We focus on debuffing the enemies and buffing our allies and healing them, and that's where we're at. The last thing at level 3 is that we are also a fairy, so we get fairy fire at this level. I've talked about how great getting a fight-winning spell on your lineage is for a Warlock. We don't have spells to go around. So Fairy Fire, what it's going to allow us to do is set up advantage for our Sprite as well as our teammates without using our Warlock spell slot, which is fantastic. So it has great synergy both with our class and our strategy here. It's also completely in theme, so I love it here. Now at level 4, we're going to be taking our first level into Sorcerer. Now rather than sit here and go through level by level, I just want to do a breakdown of all the spells that I think have cool synergies and then go from there. Let's begin with Bane. Bane you get for free by taking this 1 level into Sorcerer, and Bane is awesome. It's going to debuff our enemies so that they are less resistant to saving against us, which synergizes excellently with Mind Sliver because it stacks. The next is the combination between Aid and our Investment of the Chainmaster. Investment of the Chainmaster also allows us to use our reaction when our Sprite is hit to reduce the damage in half. Now usually that's not enough to keep our Sprite alive, but with Aid it might be. We still want to do everything in our power to avoid our Sprite getting hit, but if it does, this might allow us to take at least 1 of those hits. Dark Vision allows not only us to see in the dark, but it allows our Sprite to see in the dark. That's one of the Sprite's only weaknesses compared to the Imp, is that they can't scout in the dark. A really fun one we get from being Fairy is Enlarge/Reduce. Now we could enlarge our Fairy to have it do a d4 more damage, but who cares? But what I really like is actually making it minuscule. What happens if you take a tiny creature and then make it an 1/8 its size? It's like the size of a fly. And what's cool is that it can't be reduced down from 1 damage, which it was already doing 1 damage. So now it is damage capped at 1, which is what it will be doing anyways. And what's really cool is you can still do the poison condition. Now, mechanically speaking, this isn't gonna do much, but as a DM, you know, personally speaking, I think that if there is a creature that can go invisible and is the size of a fly, it's gonna have some sort of disadvantage on attacking it, but that's just me. Don't put that on your DM. Now we take all of these synergistic spells, and then we just mix them with our typically powerful spells. Healing Word is one of the best emergency heals in the entire game. Sure, throw it on the list. Hypnotic Pattern. Yeah, we're debuffing enemies. That's a good enough reason. Throw it on our list. Absolutely devastating. And then we can mix it with things like Spiritual Weapon. If our Sprite dies and we need to do more damage, we can turn on Spiritual Weapon and then just use a cantrip, and that can be our we have no Sprite mode. That'll work fine. Then we take that and we combine it with meta magics, whatever meta magics you're feeling. You can do Extended Spell, Silent, Twin, all of those can be extremely powerful. Is this build going to be dealing out the damage? No, this build does barely any damage. This might be the least damaging build I have ever built. On average, it's doing like 1.5 damage per turn. Does that mean it's bad? Hell no. This build is actually devastating with its turn in, turn out debuffs, combined with the best fight winning spells in the game, combined with surprisingly powerful defenses because we can be invisible for most of this. It's just really, really cool how it all comes together. It's flavorful, it's unique, and I like it. But if you guys were given the same build challenge, what would you have built? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, I want to say thank you to Samuel. What an awesome build challenge. If you guys want to give me some build challenges, again, just let me know in the comments down below. I love to get them. I just want to take a moment to say thank you guys. We've hit 12K subscribers, and that's a big deal. And I appreciate the support that you guys have shown the channel. I appreciate you guys showing up and leaving comments and just getting involved in the builds. You guys are really awesome. Appreciate you a lot. But with that, my friends, I hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you then.